This is RT. And first, as you just heard, then Russia now demanding answers as to why a 3-year-old boy died, allegedly at the hands of his adoptive mother in the United States. Maxim Kuzmin adds to the grim statistic of 20 Russian children who've died so far after being adopted by Americans. Of course, only a few weeks ago, a new law came into effect in Russia banning US citizens from bringing Russian children into their families because of the worry of abuse. But earlier, Maria Finoshina gave me the latest developments tonight.
Although Maxim died almost a month ago now, investigation is still continuing. It's too early to say exactly what happened and, what were the circumstances. But we're already hearing from American investigators that the body of Maxim was covered with scratches and bruises. Allegedly, he was bitten and he suffered, this is what we are hearing from American doctors, multiple injuries prior to his death. It's also reported that Maxim's parents called medics to their property, but Maxim had actually died before he could actually be treated. On that day, Texas Children Protection Services received a report of Maxim's death, which alleged neglect and physical abuse. Now, Russian authorities are saying that this second boy could also be in danger, but this is the question we've asked Russia's Foreign Ministry's human rights envoy. Let's now listen to what he has to say.
Concerning the second boy, he lives now with his adoptive father. The mother, whose surname is Chateau, is not allowed to live with the second child during the inquiry. But nevertheless, she can see him, I think, at least once a week. This decision was taken by the US authorities. If the investigation proves the mother's guilt in the death of the child, the question will be raised about the future of the second boy.
Yeah, and of course the double tragedy, the double irony here is that this happened just before that new law was introduced that we've been talking about at length here on this channel, the Dima Yakovlev law, to now prohibit Americans from adopting Russians because of this, the fear of this very same thing. Unfortunately, it seems too late in this case, maybe.
Absolutely. There is another grim coincidence between these two cases. Maxim Kuzmin was adopted from the same orphanage where 18-month-old Dmitry lived before he was adopted in 2008. And another tragic story, he died just 3 months after he was adopted because his adoptive father just forgot he was in the car, leaving him in a parking lot for 9 hours in 50-degree heat. It was just too hot inside the car and the boy died. The adoptive father was then accused with murder and faced up to 10 years in prison, but the court decided he was not guilty and let him walk free. We have been able to speak to Children's Rights Ombudsman, and he's explained why Russia is taking such a firm stance here.
Yeah, okay, let's take a listen.
Unfortunately, it's usually months after a Russian child has died in the US that the American side informs us about it. In one case, it was 5 years after a boy died. And that's how our cooperation with the US works. They do not inform us fast enough, or the information is not reliable. There are tens of thousands of Russian adopted children living in the US, and we haven't got a clue about the lives of most of them. There is no confirmation that they are all right and they're not being abused.
Of course, we are across developments as the inquiry into Maxim's death expands.
Yeah, exactly. Maria Finoshina with me just a bit earlier. Well, the US has promised to more thoroughly investigate now the abuse of Russian children by their adoptive American families. But Mira Reben, who's written widely on international adoption, told us there's no protection for adopted children in the US, no control over preventing abuse.
Adopted children are no more protected here in the United States, whether they're internationally or domestically adopted, no matter what country they're adopted from. Once they're adopted into a family, they are treated as if they are the same as they were born into that family, and there is no greater protection afforded any adopted child than there is any other child. So it's only if abuse is reported. There's a high demand for children for adoption, and the demand is great for Russian children in particular because they are Caucasian and most often blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and they are the more desirable children for adoption, since most of those adopting are Caucasian and they simply prefer a child that looks like them. So there's high demand, but Russia need not commodify children and yield to that demand. Russians and any country can protect children better within their own country.